The notion of a final girl is arguably horror's most celebrated trope. The last women somehow left standing in the face of seemingly certain doom by the end of their respective horror movies. Horror is littered with formidable women who resolutely endured the most barbaric of predicaments, fought back against insurmountable odds with an iron will, or bravely put their own lives in danger to protect others, often simultaneously. Of course, this is often only the case so the director can gleefully whip the rug out from underneath fans and characters alike, regularly condemning their film's heroic final girl to a fate that audiences wouldn't wish upon their worst enemy. This is why we can't have nice things. And so with that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture here with the 10 worst fates suffered by final girls in horror movies. Number 10. Lee in Blackwater. It's a pretty impressive accomplishment to take out a crocodile single-handedly. This is a predator that has survived since the time of the dinosaurs, after all. As such, Lee's fate in 2007's Blackwater is almost comically unfair. The Australian horror depicts the tale of the aforementioned Lee and her sister Grace. The siblings become trapped in the mangroves after their boat is upended by an enormous bloodthirsty crocodile, which kills their tour guide and Grace's boyfriend Adam in short order. After her sister's leg is gruesomely wounded following an encounter with the crocodile, Lee is forced to attempt to reach the boat herself. The film's climactic sequence sees Lee go toe-to-toe with the murderous reptilian, equipped with no more than 2 bullets in the dead guide's pistol. As the beast clamps its colossal jaws around her arm, she manages to fire into its mouth, finally putting an end to her amphibious tormentor. Lee's impressively hardcore antics and refusal to yield to such a formidable adversary deserve far better than the heartbreaking endgame she ultimately had in store for her. Number 9. Erin Harson in You're Next. Despite her soft-spoken Australian tones and diminutive build, this woman is a wrecking ball in human form. Raised on an outback survivalist compound, her paranoid father schooled Erin in guerrilla warfare so that she could survive should the world suddenly go shit. Conveniently, this translates rather well to situations where your boyfriend's family reunion is suddenly besieged by a masked gang of merciless killers. While outnumbered and outgunned by this terrifying development, Erin wipes out the killers one by one, including the family members who are revealed to be complicit in the attack. Sadly, this is where Erin's excruciatingly unjust fate rears its ugly head. Her boyfriend Crispin reveals his involvement in the plot, leading Erin to savagely murder him as he tries to buy her silence. Unfortunately, a policeman arrives just in time to witness what appears to be a deranged woman, barely visible through a mask of blood, stabbing a defenseless man with a screwdriver. After triumphing against titanic odds, Erin is gunned down by the cop. While her fate is left ambiguous, she's still likely facing at least one murder charge, even if she survived. Number 8. Caroline Ellis in The Skeleton Key. Caroline Ellis is employed by Luke Marshall, an attorney representing the Devereaux family, to care for the elderly Benjamin, who is essentially catatonic as the result of an apparent stroke. Caroline soon begins to suspect the presence of hoodoo black magic after discovering a grisly array of ritualistic items and witnessing incidents that appear to be supernatural in nature. Ellis's dogged investigation is ultimately her undoing. The Skeleton Key's finale reveals that Marshall and Benjamin's wife Violet are actually 2 African-American slaves from nearly a century ago. Mama Cecile and Papa Justify have survived by using hoodoo to transfer their consciousness into the bodies of others. Once they have swapped hosts, the ousted consciousness is paralyzed with a concoction and trapped inside the dying body, utterly powerless to resist. Caroline is carted away by paramedics in Violet's paralyzed body, presumably doomed to spend the rest of her days trapped in this Hadean prison of her own making. Number 7. Cali Russell in Absentia. It's almost unbelievable that this film is a partial allegory of the classic fairy tale The Three Billy Goats Gruff. While the goats face a troll under a bridge, Absentia's characters are haunted by a spectral insectoid creature inhabiting a bleak concrete tunnel, located in front of the house where sisters Trisha and Callie reside. This Faustian being trades with people who pass through the tunnel, fulfilling its end of the bargain in the most chilling manner conceivable. Absentia culminates with the entity claiming Trisha herself, leading Cali to desperately offer herself up as a trade for her sister's life. The creature agrees to a swap, but in the most despicably morbid manner fathomable. Presenting Cali with her sister's unborn fetus, the creature claims its side of the bargain, sucking her into the tunnel wall despite her desperate attempts to flee. Unable to even save Trisha, Cali is left trapped in this ghastly limbo with her malevolent captor as her sole companion. Number 6. Mia Allen in Evil Dead. While there's arguably never a good time to get possessed by a hideously malevolent demon, doing so in the throes of drug withdrawal is not far off the worst imaginable. Things are bleak for Mia from the get-go, but they get a literal hell of a lot bleaker fast. After one of the most gleefully horrifying depictions of possession in recent memory, Alan's repulsive tormentor is exorcised when her brother David buries her alive and revives her using a defibrillator. Just as things are looking up, David is fatally wounded in tragic fashion, sacrificing himself in a fiery explosion soon after to protect Mia. Fresh off her beloved brother's traumatic death, Mia is attacked by the Abomination, a demonic final boss that mirrors her appearance. Following the bloodiest of brawls, Mia eventually comes out on top, but only at the minor cost of her left hand. Mia ends Evil Dead with a horrific mutilation, a burnt-out cabin full of dead loved ones, and 0 drugs whatsoever. Number 5. Nika Pierce in Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. Nika Pierce is such an inspired and progressive final girl that it seems like a crying shame for the Child's Play franchise to treat her like their answer to Prometheus. For starters, Curse of Chucky reveals that Pierce is a paraplegic due to the eponymous villain himself. Before Charles Lee Ray transformed his soul into the iconic good guy doll, he stabbed Nika's pregnant mother Sarah in the stomach, crippling the unborn child after her mother rejected his advances. Oh, did we mention that he also subsequently murdered both her parents? Confining Pierce to a wheelchair and eventually orphaning her clearly wasn't bad enough though. Nika is framed for Ray's murders and locked up in a mental hospital where matters do not improve for the miserably unfortunate Pierce. Cult of Chucky reveals that Nika's spiral into depressive psychosis convinced herself of her own guilt for Chucky's murders. She does eventually escape the facility, regaining the ability to walk to boot, but only after the slight inconvenience of being possessed by Dr. Foley's iteration of Chucky. Number 4. Sally Hardesty in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. While Sally's fate doesn't sound too unspeakable on paper, the sheer levels of suffering that Marilyn Burns' final girl undergoes in the iconic original installment make death seem like a far more attractive alternative. We'll be discounting Owen Fuere's revival of the character based on the inherent atrociousness of the franchise's 2022 offering. After witnessing her disabled brother Franklin's gruesome murder, Sally is subjected to excruciating physical and psychological torture by the Sawyer brothers. The family dinner, as Sally howls in horrified dismay while her tormentors howl back with equally demented delight, is notable for being unequivocally harrowing on every level imaginable. Using Sally as a depraved plaything for their cadaverous grandpa, the brothers slice her finger open for him to drink her blood, a spectacle so appallingly disgusting that Sally passes out. While Sally does eventually escape her abhorrent captors, her hysterical laughter reveals that she's far too broken for it to even matter. Number 3. Miranda North in Life. Space is a never-ending literal representation of limbo. This chilling state of affairs makes the unenviable fate of Life's Miranda North all the more horrifying. After being hunted through the ISS by a murderous Martian organism dubbed Calvin in the 2017 sci-fi horror, North's attempt to return to Earth during the film's climactic sequence goes appallingly wrong. Jake Gyllenhaal's David Jordan heroically attempts to lure Calvin into an escape pod and pilot it into deep space, while North plans to use a separate pod to return to Earth. In a cataclysmic turn of events, both vehicles are hit by debris during re-entry, knocking them off course. In the cruelest of twists, the pods are revealed to have switched places. A stricken Jordan and Calvin splash down on Earth, presumably precipitating the end of humanity, while Miranda's escape shuttle hurtles unchecked into space. Number 2. Jenny Greengrass in Eden Lake. While holidaying in the countryside, Kelly Riley's protagonist and her boyfriend Steve are attacked by a gang of psychotic youths. Led by Jack O'Connell's unhinged Brett, the gang pursue the couple after a scuffle ends in the accidental death of Brett's dog. Steve is sadistically tortured and murdered before Jenny's very eyes before the group relentlessly pursue her through the woods. After bravely taking out several hoodlums and escaping in a stolen van, Jenny knocks herself unconscious when she plows the vehicle into a fence. Groggily coming to in a room full of concerned people, Jenny swiftly comes to the appalling realization that she is in Brett's house. In a nightmarishly coincidental twist, the occupants are the gang members' parents who soon recognize the van. As if all of this wasn't rough enough, a returning Brett blames all of the murders, including a young boy he barbarically incinerated, on Jenny, who is dragged off to the bathroom and murdered off-screen. Number 1. Sarah Carter in The Descent. The Descent follows a group of friends who become lost in an unmapped cave system. The party subsequently find themselves hunted by nightmarish humanoid creatures that have survived underground for millennia. Protagonist Sarah was already having a rough go of things beforehand, having tragically lost her husband and young daughter Jessica in a car crash that she survived. Sarah seemingly makes her getaway in the film's climactic sequence, only for director Neil Marshall to pull the rug out from under audiences in the most horrifying of fashions. Sarah has hallucinated the entire escape and is still trapped in the cave system, with the creatures closing in around her fast. The light she perceives to be radiating from candles of her daughter's birthday cake is actually the flickering glow of her torch, slowly dying out and poised to plunge her into eternal nightmarish darkness. Sarah's fate is so morbidly depressing that the US version of The Descent featured an entirely different ending to the UK's. The American take actually does see Sarah make it to freedom over fears that the ending would come across as overly bleak. I mean, the phrase "no Sherlock" does come to mind. And that concludes our list. If you think we missed something, then do let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there. And I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.